out, Mitchell. Stay back.
Sturdier than you think yet.
Do I need help push? Today is Sunday, October 13th, and it's going to be episode 4 of Templin Baking Adventures. I'm going to do the same thing as last week, where I'm going to just do an intro and then do some videos from the week with a voiceover. But man, what a weather change from last week. We are currently in low 50s and super, super windy. But I want to start today back here because I have good news. Ruby, who was really, really looking tough last week, pulled through. I'll talk more about that, but that's my good news for today. She made it. She's back in the pen again with her buddy. It is most definitely fall in Minnesota now. We kind of got spoiled with how nice it was in September, and I kept having to remind myself that we are very close to winter, even though it didn't feel like it, and that any day it could turn. Well, this week was the week. Temperatures have dropped, colors are turning, the fields are getting taken out like crazy. So there's a lot of dust in the air right now. But it is fall, and I'm trying to enjoy as much of it as I can. Unfortunately, with these days getting shorter and my work schedule, it gets harder and harder to be able to enjoy what it actually looks like outside during daytime hours. But this last week, we were busy trying to get all of those tomatoes processed down and preserved. So one night this week after work, I decided to just stay up late, and we got 15 gallons of tomatoes processed. Sat and we cored and took out the bad spots, and then we scalded and then slipped the skins, and thankfully my husband stayed up with me and helped me. And we got that all done so that I could make salsa. I was hoping to do a tutorial on the salsa that I make. I've made it for about 8 years now. I may still do that, but honestly, I was just in get it done mode, and I really, really want to just get this canned up so we have it for the winter. My husband was really worried with how this year was going. We weren't going to have any fresh salsa, so I'm happy that we were able to get that done. But back to Ruby. So last week, Ruby was really dehydrated. She had scours. So I got her home. We got SpectraGuard in her. I got an electrolyte solution in her. And the biggest thing was, after the scours cleared up, I could not get her to start eating. We tried everything. She had a buffet of different foods to sample. And finally, the food that made her start eating again was scrambled eggs with maple syrup. It worked. So today, she is happily back in the pen with her buddy, and her buddy grew a ton in that 1 week, and she did not grow at all. So the size difference is even more extreme, but I'm happy to say she is healthy once again. That was not the case for all of our animals this week. One of our farm cats, Psycho, had a growth on his face, and I thought maybe it was an abscess, so we took him to the vet on Monday. And unfortunately, he has a mast cell carcinoma, and they said they cannot operate and they cannot treat. So we will actually have to be putting him down in the near future. But Blueberry's kittens, as a highlight, are still doing well. They are growing. They are starting to explore the farm much more often. We are up to about a full can, maybe a little over a can of soft cat food a day, just supplementing to help Mama out. Even though she does bring them treats of rodents, we want to make sure they're getting enough nutrition going into the colder temperatures here. Last week, I talked about rabbits, and I must have had my days off. But we still had some that didn't kindle. We did get a nice little litter of lion heads, which my son is very thankful for. Those are his show rabbits. And we also did get one litter of New Zealand's. But I didn't check that litter yet. Mama was not too sure about me But we still had one New Zealand who did not kindle. I'm thinking she didn't take. Like I said, it was pretty warm when we bred. So it's very possible. And then we also had one Harlequin that did not take. So I will plan on rebreeding later this week just in case. But I do not think they took any. We also had one more lion head that did not kindle this week. My husband was very, very busy doing cleanup around the yard this week. So this is the well, the old pump well that used to be under a windmill that we got going. He was busy working on cleaning everything away from that. It's not really an area of the homestead that we have done anything with yet. So he was trying to clean that all away. He also was working on cleaning out this area that's next to our barn. It was full of overgrowth trees and junk. So he was busy having fun with the bobcat, cutting things down, pulling them out. As you can see, he pulled another tree out right there. And then we also had this very old shed to deal with. Now, I think it probably was a really nice shed at one point. But unfortunately, it was built immediately under where all the rain comes off the barn. So that one whole wall was deteriorated. And I wasn't going to put the effort into rebuilding half of it to save it. So he took off the little bit that was supporting it still. And even though it fought a little bit, the bobcat won. And we got that knocked down and taken apart to clean up some more space on the homestead for something we can actually make useful. I'm not sure exactly what he has planned for this area yet, but I'm sure time will tell. In the meantime, chickens were having an absolute blast because we disturbed the soil. So as soon as that bobcat shut off, they were over there checking everything out, trying to find what they could find in the soil. And it's always so fun to see how excited they get whenever that dirt is fresh churned over. And on the subject of chickens, we are still well in eggs. They're laying about 18 a day, and soon I'm going to start water glassing eggs and getting them in storage. Another loss for the week. My uncle passed away. He was my dad's last surviving brother, and he was the uncle that would come and take us fishing as kids. And when we grew up on a working farm, that was a real treat. It wasn't often that we got to go do things like that, and those are some of my fondest memories of him as a child. He did live 93 years, but it still feels like it wasn't long enough. Thanks again for watching another episode of Templin Acres Adventures Weekly Recap. Hope you enjoyed watching, and see you again next week.